So first of all, let me say thank you very much. I really appreciate everyone being here today, especially on such a beautiful day. I think we had very few fall offs on the first one of these at 10 o'clock, but I think the day is so beautiful. We had a lot more no shows this evening, so I appreciate those of you who found time to make it here. So, when we talk about this, I get a lot of questions. We've been doing this for about a year now, quarterly, and I get questions from people like, "Hey, is it hard to think of topics, or like, how do you do this?" And I'll tell you, it is absolutely easy. You would be surprised how obvious these things are. So the four that we've done was right after COVID, right? That one was of course really easy. All right, and then it was the rebound. Everything was rebounding pretty fastly, so or pretty quickly. So that was pretty easy, to discuss. And then you had the election, was pretty close after that. So we kind of had, hey, here's what the election is looking like. Here's where you might want to, have your portfolio or position yourself. And then of course, afterwards, we had, okay, it looks like Biden actually won and he's going to be inaugurated. So, what are we going to do now? And of course, now, again, I think it was really obvious. Everyone is asking the same question, which is the market is so high that, we've got some inflation. We're doing a ton of stimulus. Does it really have anywhere to go but down? Right? It is by far the number one question I've been getting from everyone. And so have the other advisors in the firm. So that is what we're going to talk about today. I think, again, if everyone keeps muted, that would be great throughout this time. I'm happy to answer questions as long, I was here for over half an hour this morning answering questions. So as long as people have questions, I'm happy to answer them. Or of course, you guys can always send an email or give us a call afterwards if you feel more comfortable doing so in a more private environment. So I think that this slide does such an amazing job of telling us what is actually happening and why we're getting all these questions. So this slide goes all the way back to 2013, but I really want to focus on, kind of from here out, so from 2019 on, what has been happening. And if you even kind of put your hand over it, right, you look at it and you're like, oh my gosh. So a lot of people think when they first saw this, I was kind of, I talked to the staff at AQuest about, what we're going to talk about. And most people thought this was like Bitcoin or some super aggressive tech company or a Tesla stock or something like that. It is not. This light blue line here is just the NASDAQ, right? Nothing terribly exciting. I mean, it's more tech heavy, but it's certainly not the most aggressive thing out there. This blue line is the S&P 500. I mean, it includes old kind of stodgy growth companies like, Ford, Coca-Cola, General Electric, nothing too terribly exciting. LPL, actually the company that I clear through, we just got on the Fortune 500 at number 466. That we're not like this super amazing growth company, LPL, right? I mean, they're a pretty conservative play. These are small caps, and the Dow, I mean, mid caps. So these, again, if you kind of look from here on out on what they've done from the beginning of 2019 till now, this is why people are concerned. It is because of this that everything looks so high compared to where we were a couple of years ago that they're saying, what in the world, kind of like, where are we and what do we need to do now? And people are tending to kind of fall into one of two categories, right? Category number one is, hey, everything's great, let's be super aggressive. And category number two is, hey, everything's going to crash, obviously, so we need to be in cash. So when there's times like this that everyone kind of falls into camps, I think using, going back to some typical rule of thumbs can make sense. So if we can explore some of those, investing strategy 101, buy low and sell high. So a lot of people, are saying, hey, my whole life I've heard buy low and sell high. I mean, if anything that I own now, aren't we just basically buying high, right? We're not buying low. So isn't now the time that we should potentially get out? We'll explore that a little bit later on. But, also Warren Buffett. So I think that's another great, like, kind of rule of thumb type of guy, whatever he says, because he is the world's most successful investor of all time. And when I say that, I think a lot of people will say, well, what are you talking about? How is he the world's most successful investor? I think the difference is of most of the really rich people in the world, they made their money starting a company that made something, right? Bill Gates and Microsoft and Windows, right? Even Steve Jobs and the iMac, the MacBook and the iPhones and iPod, Bezos and Amazon, Elon Musk and Tesla, right? Most of the really rich people have a company that did something totally different. Warren Buffett is still, I think, top 10 richest in the world. And he has never created anything. All he does is buy the shares of stuff other people create. So that's why I think he is the most successful investor of all time. And he says, never lose money. And rule number 2, do not forget rule number 1, do not lose any money. And a lot of people are saying today, I've also kind of lived by this rule of thumb. Now that the market is so high, what do? I feel like the only thing I can do is lose money. And there's some other people that say, you know what, don't worry about it. There's no problem. The market will probably just continue to go up like it always does. So don't worry at all. Right. So we're going to kind of from here explore like some of the more optimistic people and about the market, and some of the people that think that things only have room to go down, and kind of why they think that. And then we'll talk a little bit more about some of the strategies for a super high market. And if stocks and bonds are elevated in valuation, some of the things you might want to think about investing in.